Your plant looks healthy. Green leaves, strong stems, fresh growth. Everything tells you it is doing fine. So why do so many beautiful plants suddenly droop, fade, and collapse when no warnings seem to exist? Because the real danger often begins long before the leaves reveal it. Deep below the soil, while the surface still looks alive, the roots may already be drowning, trapped, suffocating, or slowly failing in silence. Most people watch the leaves. Smart growers study what cannot be seen, and by the time yellow leaves appear, the hidden damage may already be far advanced. Today, you'll learn how to read the early warnings roots give before plants fall, why healthy-looking plants fail without warning, and how to build strength from the inside out so your plants thrive longer than ever. The green leaves can hide a root system quietly falling apart. Many people trust what they can see. If the leaves are green, they believe the plant is healthy. If the stems are upright, they assume everything is working well. If a few new leaves appear, they feel relaxed and think the plant is growing perfectly. This is how most people judge plant health: by the surface, by color, by appearance. But plants do not always reveal their problems quickly. In fact, many plants can hide stress for a long time. They are often more patient than people realize. A plant can continue looking fresh while using stored energy inside. It can keep its green color while the roots below are already becoming weak. It can stay standing tall while the hidden system under the soil is slowly losing strength day after day. This is why green leaves can sometimes tell a beautiful lie. What looks healthy above the soil may be struggling below it. Leaves are often the last place where trouble becomes clear. The roots usually feel the damage first. If the soil stays wet too long, roots may begin to suffocate. If the soil becomes hard and tight, roots may struggle to spread. If the pot has poor drainage, roots may sit in trapped moisture. If the plant has been stressed for weeks, roots may already be weak, even if the leaves still look fine. Yet the top of the plant may continue looking normal. That is what confuses so many people. They see beauty above the soil and assume strength below the soil. But the two are not always the same. A plant can survive for some time by using the energy already stored in its leaves and stems. It keeps trying to look healthy while the root system quietly declines. Then, one day, the damage becomes too great to hide. Leaves begin to droop. Color begins to fade. Growth suddenly stops. Older leaves may fall. The plant that looked healthy yesterday now looks sick. To you, it feels sudden. To the plant, it has been happening slowly for a long time. This is why many plant problems seem to appear overnight. The truth is, they began underground long before you noticed them. Once you understand this, your whole way of caring for plants changes. You stop judging health only by leaf color. You stop trusting surface beauty alone. You stop waiting for visible damage before taking action. Instead, you begin asking better questions. How heavy is the pot after many days? Is the soil staying wet too long? Has growth slowed down? Are roots coming out from drainage holes? Does the plant look healthy but feel stuck? These questions reveal more than leaf color ever can, because the real life of a plant begins below the soil. Leaves are the message. Roots are the source. And when you learn to care for the hidden part first, the visible part becomes stronger naturally. That single shift in thinking can save many plants before damage ever reaches the leaves. Too much love can slowly suffocate the life beneath the soil. Many people believe plants die because they were ignored. Sometimes that is true, but far more often, plants suffer because they were loved without understanding. A person wants to care for the plant, so they water it often. They see the top of the soil looking dry, so they add more water. They notice a small yellow leaf, so they water again. They want faster growth, greener leaves, and constant freshness. so they keep giving more and more. To them, it feels like kindness. To the plant, it can become pressure. This is one of the most common mistakes in plant care. People know roots need water, but they forget roots also need air. Healthy soil is not meant to stay soaked all the time. Good soil holds moisture, but it also contains tiny open spaces filled with oxygen. These spaces allow roots to breathe, stay active, and grow strong. When soil stays wet for too long, those spaces fill with water. Air disappears. The roots begin to struggle quietly. They cannot function properly. They become weak, soft, slow. Sometimes they begin to rot before any clear warning appears above the soil. This is what makes overwatering so dangerous. The damage often starts where you cannot see it. A plant may still look healthy in the early stage. Leaves may remain green. Stems may still stand upright. The plant may appear normal while the roots underneath are already losing strength. Then suddenly things begin to change. Leaves droop. Tips turn brown. Yellowing spreads. Growth stops. The soil smells sour. The plant feels lifeless. And because the leaves look weak, many people think the plant needs even more water. So they water again. This turns a problem into a collapse. The real issue was never lack of water, it was lack of oxygen. This is why too much love can become harmful. Care without understanding can damage the very life you are trying to protect. Plants do not need constant attention. They need balanced attention. They do not need wet soil every day. They need a healthy cycle of moisture and breathing. Water deeply when the plant truly needs it. Then allow the soil to dry enough for fresh air to return. Let roots search. Let them breathe. Let them grow stronger between waterings. Strong roots are not built in endless wetness. They are built in rhythm. Moisture, then air. Drink, then rest. Support, then space. This is how nature works. Rain falls, then the ground begins to dry. Air returns, roots recover. Life continues in balance. Many people harm plants because they care too often. Wise growers help plants by knowing when to pause. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is not to water today. Sometimes stepping back is smarter than stepping in. When you stop treating water like the answer to every problem, your plants begin to recover in ways that surprise you. Leaves become stronger, growth becomes steadier, roots become healthier, and the plant no longer lives in silent stress. So remember this, too little care can hurt a plant, but too much care, given at the wrong time, can hurt it even faster. Love is powerful, but in plant care, love must be guided by wisdom. Rich soil can secretly become a dense graveyard for roots. Many people believe good soil solves everything. They buy a rich potting mix, dark in color, soft to the touch, full of promise. They place their plant into it and feel confident that the hard part is over. The soil looks healthy. It feels fresh. Water drains nicely. The plant responds well in the beginning. And because of this early success, many people assume the soil will stay the same forever. But soil changes quietly. What begins as a living, airy home for roots can slowly become heavy, tight, and lifeless over time. This happens little by little. With every watering, tiny particles move downward. Fine dust settles into empty spaces. Organic material begins to break apart. Old roots die and decay. Repeated moisture compresses the mix. What was once loose and open slowly becomes packed and dense. From the surface, nothing may seem wrong. The top still looks like soil. The plant may still have green leaves. The pot remains in the same place. Everything appears normal. But below the surface, the world has changed. The roots that once moved freely now struggle to push forward. Water no longer spreads evenly. Some areas stay too wet, while others become dry and hard. Air cannot travel as easily through the soil, Fresh root tips slow down. Older roots remain trapped in stale zones with little oxygen. This is how rich soil can secretly become a graveyard for roots. Not because the soil was bad in the beginning, but because it was never renewed. Many people notice slow growth and think the plant needs fertilizer, so they feed it more. They notice yellow leaves and think it needs extra nutrients, so they feed it again. But food cannot fix suffocation. Nutrition cannot solve a soil structure problem. If roots cannot breathe, spread, or absorb properly, adding more fertilizer often creates even more stress. The plant is not starving. It is struggling to function. This is why some plants stop thriving even when you are still watering and feeding them correctly. The real issue is not what you are adding. It is what the roots are living in. Imagine trying to grow inside a room with no fresh air, no space to move, and heavy walls closing in around you. That is what damaged soil feels like to roots. Once you understand this, plant care becomes wiser. You realize that soil is not just dirt holding the plant upright. Soil is the root environment. It is the plant's breathing space, its support system, its hidden world. When that world declines, the plant declines with it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for a struggling plant is simple. Refresh the soil. Loosen the compacted root ball. Remove dead roots if needed. Repot into a mix that drains well and holds air. Give roots a fresh place to live. Many plants respond with surprising speed when this happens. Growth returns. Leaves strengthen. Color deepens. New roots begin exploring again. Life rises above the soil because life was restored below it. This is the secret many beginners miss. They focus on leaves. Great growers focus on the ground beneath them. So remember this: rich soil is not rich forever. Even the best mix can slowly collapse with time. And when soil becomes dense, roots pay the price first. If you want strong leaves, healthy stems, and steady growth, protect the unseen world under the surface. Because roots do not ask for luxury. They ask for air, balance, and room to live. The pot that once protected growth can become a silent prison. In the beginning, a pot can feel like safety. It holds the soil together. It protects the roots. It gives the young plant a stable place to settle, drink, and grow. A small container often helps a new plant feel secure because the roots can quickly reach moisture and establish themselves. At first, everything seems perfect. The plant stands upright. New leaves appear. Watering feels easy. Growth looks steady. This is why many people never question the pot once the plant seems happy. But plants keep growing. Roots keep searching. Life keeps expanding. And what once felt like protection can slowly become limitation. The container stays the same size while the root system keeps increasing. Little by little, the open spaces inside the pot disappear. Roots begin touching the walls, circling the edges, twisting around themselves, and filling every pocket of soil. From above, the plant may still look healthy. That is what makes this problem so deceptive. Leaves can stay green for a long time, while the underground space is already crowded. The plant may still survive, but it is no longer thriving. When roots run out of room, many hidden problems begin. Water starts behaving strangely. Sometimes it rushes straight through the pot because roots have taken over the soil. Sometimes certain areas stay wet while others stay dry. Moisture becomes uneven. Feeding becomes less effective. The plant dries out too fast or remains stressed after watering. Growth begins to slow. New leaves come smaller than before. Old leaves yellow more often. The plant looks tired without an obvious reason. Many people respond by adding fertilizer. Others water more often. Some move the plant into brighter light. But none of these changes solve the real issue. The problem is space. Imagine trying to grow stronger while trapped inside a room that becomes smaller every month. Imagine your path forward, blocked in every direction. That is what a root-bound plant experiences. The roots are alive, active, and trying to expand, but there is nowhere left to go. This is why a once happy pot can become a silent prison. Not because the pot is bad, because time changed the plant's needs. Something that helped in one season may harm in the next if nothing changes. Wise growers understand this truth. Care must grow as the plant grows. Sometimes love means giving more room. A larger container can transform a struggling plant. Fresh soil can restore balance. Gently loosening circling roots can help them move outward again. Better drainage can create healthier watering cycles. When roots are freed, the change above the soil can be surprising. Growth becomes stronger. Leaves regain shine. New shoots appear. The plant begins responding with energy that seemed lost. Not because it was weak, because it was restricted. Many people think plants fail from lack of nutrients. Some fail from lack of space. Many people think more water is the answer. Sometimes freedom is the answer. This is why repotting is not just moving a plant into a new container. It is opening a new chapter of growth. It is removing invisible limits. It is telling the plant, you can expand again. So pay attention to the quiet signs. Roots coming out of drainage holes. Water drying far too quickly. Growth slowing for months. Soil disappearing under thick roots. A plant that looks alive, but no longer excited to grow. These are not random issues. They are signals. The plant is asking for room, and when you listen in time, you often prevent decline before it begins. Remember this: the pot that once protected your plant may not be the pot that can carry its future. Growth always needs space, and anything without room to grow will eventually struggle in silence. Those who read the early warnings rarely watch plants collapse. Many people think great growers have special luck. They believe some people are simply gifted with plants, while others are not. But most successful growers are not lucky. They are observant. They notice what others ignore. They understand one powerful truth: plants rarely collapse without warning. They usually whisper long before they fall. The problem is that most people wait for dramatic signs. They wait for yellow leaves. They wait for drooping stems. They wait for leaf drop. They wait until the plant looks sick enough to demand attention. But by the time leaves begin shouting, the roots may have been suffering for weeks. This is why learning the early warnings changes everything. A plant often speaks in quiet ways first. Growth becomes slower than usual. New leaves arrive smaller than before. Color looks slightly dull. The soil stays wet much longer than normal, or the opposite happens. The pot dries out unusually fast because roots have filled all available space. Water begins running straight through the container instead of soaking in well. Leaves lose their shine. Stems seem alive, but less energetic. The plant looks fine at a quick glance, yet something feels different. These small changes are easy to miss, but they matter. Because small signs often come before large problems, wise growers do not ignore subtle shifts. They pay attention when patterns change. They know every plant has a rhythm: how fast it grows, how often it drinks, how the leaves normally look, how heavy the pot feels after watering. When that rhythm changes, they become curious. Not fearful, curious. That curiosity saves plants. Instead of waiting for collapse, they inspect the soil. They check drainage holes. They look for roots circling the pot. They smell the soil for sourness. They feel moisture below the surface. They ask whether the plant needs fresh mix, more space, less water, or better light. This is the difference between reacting late and responding early. Late reactions are stressful. Early responses are calm. Late reactions often try to save damage. Early responses often prevent damage. That is why experienced growers seem confident. They are not controlling nature. They are listening to it sooner. Once you learn this skill, plant care becomes easier. You stop guessing wildly every time a leaf changes color. You stop using water as the answer to every problem. You stop panicking when growth slows. Instead, you observe patterns and make smart adjustments. You become steady, and plants respond well to steady care. Sometimes all a struggling plant needs is fresh soil before rot begins. Sometimes it needs repotting before roots choke themselves. Sometimes it needs fewer waterings before stress deepens. Sometimes it needs better light before weakness spreads. When these things are done early, recovery is often simple. When they are ignored too long, recovery becomes difficult. This lesson reaches beyond plants. In many parts of life, collapse rarely arrives without warning. There are usually whispers first, small signs, gentle shifts, quiet discomfort. Those who respect early warnings avoid many painful endings. The same is true in the garden. So, slow down, observe more closely. Lift the pot, touch the soil, study the leaves, notice new growth, respect changes in rhythm. The plant is always communicating. You only need to learn its language, because those who read the early warnings rarely stand helplessly watching a plant collapse. They act while there is still strength to save. And that is how thriving plants are grown year after year. Most people think healthy plants are built by what they do on the surface. Better leaves, more water, more fertilizer, more quick fixes. But after everything you learned today, you now know the real truth. Strong plants are built in the hidden places, in the roots, in the soil, in the space to breathe, in the balance most people never notice. That is why some plants keep struggling no matter how much care they receive, and why others thrive with calm, simple attention. Because growth is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters most. So the next time a plant looks healthy, do not be fooled by green leaves alone. Ask deeper questions. How are the roots? Is the soil alive? Does the pot still have room? Is the plant quietly asking for help before it begins to fall? When you learn to notice what others ignore, everything changes. You stop reacting to problems late. You start preventing them early. You stop guessing. You start understanding. And that is when plant care becomes peaceful, confident, and rewarding. Remember this: leaves show beauty. Roots create it. Care for what cannot be seen, and what can be seen will become stronger naturally. If this helped you think differently, stay with the Self-Reliance system, where we grow stronger by understanding how things truly work.